You can watch our new show, The Circus, on Showtime on Sunday nights at 8 p.m. and it's a partnership with Bloomberg Politics. This past Sunday, we sat down with Bernie Sanders on his own turf in Burlington, Vermont for the premiere. We only got to show you part of that conversation. This actual piece took place in Des Moines, Iowa. We're going to show you the rest of it right now.
This is an incredibly hard thing to do. When you think about the period of time since when you started to now, what do you think is, what's been the most satisfying aspect and what's been the thing you've liked least about this process?
What has been extraordinary is looking up, in some cases, at 25, 28,000 people, a lot of young people, a lot of working class people who love this country and they want to make real change. They want to see real change. And that is incredibly moving. I mean, just tonight, we had, I think, 1,600 people out. And wonderful people, mostly working class people, who know that there's something wrong in this country. Now, what gets me, and want change, now what gets me, to be honest with you, a little bit nervous, is, people are asking a lot of me. And sometimes you get nervous. Can you do can you deliver what people need and what people want? The last thing in the world that I want to do is disappoint people. And I think I may have told you or some other folks when I began this race, what was scariest for me, what was potentially most upsetting, is I didn't want to take the banner of progressive ideas and then go out there and not do well, so that I have people saying, well, you see, nobody really believes in a Medicare for all single payer. Nobody wants to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. Nobody really wants to take on the billionaire class. That's just fringe ideas. Well, we have now established, beyond any question of a doubt, these are not fringe ideas. We may win, we may lose. These are not fringe ideas. So my fear, that was my fear. Yeah. And I think we have overcome that fear. You're asking what is most difficult. I'll tell you what's most difficult. I was in the House for 16 years, and I represented Vermont in the Senate for 9 years. Virtually every weekend, I would go home. I never, ever, ever stay in Washington, D.C. So I would go home every weekend, be with my wife, be with my kids, be with my grandchildren, and go around the state. I love Vermont. I love Vermont, and I have done more town meetings in Vermont than any public official in the history of the state of Vermont. So, we go out, we have 100 people here in a small, tiny town, we get 200 people. I love it. I love doing it. Truth is that for the last 8 or 9 months, I have not been home very often. Yeah. And there's, there's something wrong. It's something is missing because I'm supposed to be back in Vermont. That's what I've done for 25 years. And I'm not doing it now. So I don't see my family as much as I would like to. That's kind of difficult.
Right. The other question I talked to Jane about before is about your decision to run. I know it's a kind of a joint decision. You guys made it sort of together to go forward. Just tell me that story from your point of view.
If you run for President of the United States, especially given my politics and my willingness to take on the billionaire class and big money interests, we knew that there'd be a lot of ugly things happening and will continue to happen. And, one of the really sad state of affairs with regard to American politics is that people say, you're running for president, you are crazy. Why would you possibly want to do that? And subject yourself.
It's a good question.
It is a very good question. Well, it's the question that Jane asked. Yeah. We got a great family. We have a good life. I love being the United States Senator for Vermont. Why do you want to do this thing? Why do you want to run all over the country? Why do you know that every right-wing nut in the world is going to be taking, attacks against you and all this stuff, and your family? Why do you want to do that? And the honest answer is, and it's what I will tell you privately and what I say publicly, is I've got 7 grandchildren and 4 kids. My dad came to this country with nothing at the age of 17. And I want to make sure that I will do everything that I can to leave my kids and my grandchildren a country that is working well for them and for other people in this country.
She said that she was, she kept saying, because there's some other way we can do this. Could we start a nonprofit? Could we do something else, right?
Yes.
You got to the point where you had decided that that the presidency or running for president was the best way to advance these ideas. You got to that point where you were ready to do this before she did, right?
Yeah. So we were having breakfast at Denny's, and this fellow came up to us who was a veteran. And he thanked me very much. I guess our office had helped him out on some problem that he had. And he urged me to run for president. So, of course, my wife starts crying, as is her wont. And she said, okay, you got to do it. And she saw that, if somebody like this fellow who put his life on the line for this country and we helped him, he wanted me to run for president. You know, she saw in him, I think, a whole lot of other people.
So history will record that if you become the President of the United States, the decision to run was made in a booth at a Denny's.
Well, that was a fact. I wouldn't say that's the whole decision, but, you know, that's what, you know, Jane was very ambivalent she's very smart, and she was very ambivalent for a lot of sane reasons. But I think that was the moment that turned her around, and having her support to go forward made it possible for me to go forward.
You have taken in the recent days to being very critical of Donald Trump.
Yes.
You know, when we first started talking about your presidential race, you would say, you know, I don't want this to be about the politics of personal destruction. I'm not going to attack Hillary Clinton personally.
Right.
I'm going to stick to the issues. Issues, right. issues. And, you know, we would try to bait you into criticizing Hillary Clinton. You would say, no, 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 no.
That's right.
And now
you're not the only one. I mean, every media outlet
of course
spent their life trying to bait me into attacking Hillary Clinton. Right?
But now you are vociferously...
And I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's not the initial thought that you may have, well, he's, you know, maybe will be the Republican nominee and I'm trying to attack him. That's not it. You don't hear me attacking Ted Cruz, who's a very, very conservative guy, right. Marco Rubio, all these other guys. I'm attacking him because I consider him to be a very dangerous human being who is doing enormous harm to this country. So this is not just a political thing. You know, he is trying to divide us up. He's opening the door to the kind of bigotry and racism that I thought we had closed years ago. And I have to say, and you know, you're right, I don't like to make personal attacks. I've never run a negative ad in my life. I believe he is a pathological liar. All right, now every politician in the world, including myself, you know, we stretch things, we make things look well, you know. But this guy tells the American people, I saw on television thousands of Muslim people celebrating the destruction of the Twin Towers. I saw it on TV. It never existed. It was never on TV, and he goes around saying it. And, you know, you can't allow people to lie in that blatant a way. And he goes on and on and on. No, I have to call him out on those things.
Let me ask you this question just about Trump, just because, you know, one of the things that's undeniably true. 2015 was in our presidential politics was a year for outsiders. Are you cognizant of the notion that there are some number of people out there in the world who are actually sitting there saying, either Bernie Sanders or Donald Trump, I don't know, one or the other?
There are many. Oh, we know that, yes, absolutely. We talked to some guy who's a Republican leader and who said, look, you know, a lot of my friends are supporting Trump, others are supporting you. The clear difference between Trump and myself is he is a critic of what, you know, I guess he defines political correctness, which means that he feels free to call people from Mexico rapists and criminals and drug dealers. He feels free to make outrageously dishonest statements about, you know, Muslims celebrating on a rooftop. He feels free to say that climate change is a hoax created by the Chinese. That was kind of a new one. I haven't really heard that one before. All right, and you know, people respond to that outside of the box, to be sure. But I think the fundamental difference between him and me is that I don't go around talking about my opponents sweating too much or not being attractive or whatever the dumb things that he says. What we are trying to do is say, these are the problems. This is the cause of the problems. This is where we think we can solve the problems. It's a very different approach than Trump. What a lot of the media and the establishment folks who sit around in D.C. and talk to each other don't know, because they make a lot of money and they're hanging around in their cocktail parties and they're all, you know.
Not having blueberry pancakes at Denny's.
Oh, but it's people in this country are hurting, and they are angry, and they have a reason to be angry. And I know it bores some of the media when I talk about the fact that you have the average male worker, the median male worker today, making $700 less than he did 41 years ago, despite an explosion of technology. People are angry. You've got husbands and wives struggling economically. They are angry, and they have a reason to be angry. And what we are trying to do is say, all right, if you're angry, let's get angry at the right people. Don't get angry at your Latino friends or Muslims. Get angry at the people who caused the problem. So I think a lot of folks in the establishment, in the media, in Congress, don't understand the anger. I have, as I said to you, done many hundreds of town meetings in the state of Vermont. I go out and I talk to people all of the time. I sense that anger, and I know that anger. And many don't.
Last question, which is, I know you miss your grandkids, right? That's that you're not spending enough time with your grandkids. That's the other. You're not spending enough time in Vermont. You're not spending enough time with your grandkids, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Give me the monster.
Ah! Okay. All right, that's it. End the show.
Beautiful.
God, you fall for it every time.
I know, every time, every time.
All right, thanks. All right, thanks to Bernie Sanders. The circus is on Showtime. It's Sunday.